so we can lift up any of the teachings which Ian and I have offered as a mirror to inquire into, well, what is living in my mind, heart right now. And I want to name that inquiry can't happen if in some way there's judgment or the place where the negative energies are operating, because then we're just inquiring from a place and looking for something that's going to justify how bad we are, how awful our practice is, or that there's no point to anything, which I know are thoughts that we all have had at one point or another in our lives, if not more than at one point. And so much of these whole teachings really invite us in the very beginning to check in and to acknowledge, well, how is it for me right now? Like just at the beginning, like where am I and what support do I need to bring me into balance? And in the group sharing, we talked about how this practice was a practice of, is this true for me? And so it's a practice that really is based on our own capacity to discern, how is it for me in the moment? But to be careful, to be really vigilant that inquiry isn't coming from a place where there is judgment, shame, blame, or aversion, or some small sense of I'm not good enough, or that the practice is fine. I really realize that the teachings are great for everyone, but not for me. And the opposite. Everything is grooving, everything is cool. I wouldn't say this out loud, but I'm close to enlightenment. I'm like, or samadhi. I am like, I know I am getting there. You know, I can feel it already. So, so it just depends on what our personality type is. You know, or the confusion of, I don't know what's going on, and everything is too confusing and there's no point. You know, so it's so helpful right from the beginning in a practice or at any point in our lives to do that check-in. And the check-in, and this is where intention is so beautiful. The check-in comes from the intention to love. I love you, honey. I care about you. And so I want to check in how things are. Yeah? So that's the invitation for whatever the next movement is, whether it's to metta or to mindfulness, or it's even the inquiry, how do I make my connection? It's just feeling hard to be mindful at all. What do I do? Like that. I'm checking in. I care about you. Just like when you're a child or pet or friend you haven't seen for a long time, and you're like checking in. How are you? You know, we say that to each other a lot. Like, there's that how are you, which is like a hello, and then how are you really? You know, that like interest, that really inquiry, I really want to know how you are. That's what we actually also are being called to do in this practice. How are you, honey? I really want to know. And then that opening of, okay, this is how it is. And given this is how it is, right? Then we are moved in that acknowledgement or recognition to what's needed. And that's what the Buddha was saying. This isn't just like some of those new wave programs, and they have their blessings, but like the set, this is what you do, then this is what you do, and then this is what you do. No, because this is really about self-empowerment, and it depends on our capacity to know what's going on and then to address it with the skill set or tools that Ian and I have offered you over time, these days. If it feels like there isn't, that there's no gateway, that's one of the beautiful aspects of bodhicitta. Because sometimes we can't do it for ourselves, and that was one of the themes of the Dhamma talk last night. We do it for someone else. And so if we can't find a connection, then one of the ways we can find a connection is to say, I'm checking in, and now I'm going to dedicate whatever efforts I make to you in honor of you and your well-being. So I went to, when I was still having some really difficult physical symptoms, or like struggling with my health, that's the more usual way to talk about it. I went to Brazil and I studied with someone called John of God, and it was a whole trip. But anyway, one of the things was that you could stand in the time of transmission, when John of God was giving transmission, and you could stand in for someone else. And it was really amazing. I stood in for everyone I knew who was struggling with cancer at the time. And there was something about, I'm not doing this for myself, I'm doing it for others, that opened my heart in a different way. And so it's not that when we do the bodhicitta practice that we're doing it only for other people. We're doing it for ourselves too, because that is one of the gateways. I'm not doing it just for myself, I'm doing it for you, so I can take the next step because it's for you. And something is the opening in that. So this is my favorite dedication. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice and all that I will ever attain, I offer for the welfare of all sentient beings. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased, while their wisdom and compassion in this and every future life grow. May I clearly perceive all experience to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomena. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. And then this is the prayer of aspiration to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether. Whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of prayers or omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment you have, or benevolent power, and whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, then similarly I, who have come in the same way to benefit beings, pray to attain these qualities. So then, if you would like to begin this morning's practice, with a dedication of merit in your own words. And I'll read it one more time. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice and all that I will ever attain, I offer for the welfare of or all beings, all life, all trees and critters, children, or our communities, queer, trans, non-binary, lesbian, bi, gay. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for them, while their wisdom and compassion grow in this and every future life. May I clearly perceive all experience to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomena. May I attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all beings everywhere, all life. appreciating every effort as a dedication. Not defining it as a particular experience, but appreciating the intention and effort. Knowing not just for myself, but for all beings. Whether it's the breath or body sensations or sound or matter. Allowing that knowing to be inclusive. Thank you for your practice, your efforts, and maybe your dedications. I ended a little early because as we're coming into the last part of this part of the retreat, it's always lovely to carry the reminder of the blessings of the continuity of mindfulness. That the efforts that we make in this room, we hope flow into the same kinds of efforts in between. So if you would be willing to take a moment and consider in all your activities during the day where you feel you are least mindful. Or least kind. And inviting, intending to bring into this space your wishes for connection. It might be through gratitude, appreciation, or the knowing, the unobstructed knowing. For all door handles, just knowing or picking up a cup or fork or plate. Grabbing the toilet paper on the roll. Or in England we used to say pulling the chain because the old toilets had a chain, or some of them in Europe have a chain. Flushing, or flushing. Or maybe in some of the thinking process, imagining yourself holding the thinking process with kindness. Maybe for a moment all of us imagining together the activities of opening and closing doors, feeling the touch of the handle in our hands. Walking. Giving our bodies the blessing of feeling, experiencing, being clothed and unclothed if we change or when we change our clothes. Or the feeling of water as we wash our hands. Receiving the blessings of life through presence. Thank you.